once I heard about it, but I forgot what she said. I'd like to know a proper way of developing Morananusati.
With Kusala Citta.
Yeah, if I think about death, I have aversion, aksara.
Right.
So what is the right way of having? Yeah.
And if one tries to think about death with kusala citta, then it's just clinging. So then it's not any wise reflection at all.
Yeah, it's not wise at all.
Like with the development of metta or any other subject, it has to be very natural, understanding.
Yeah.
Kusala when it occurs, not by trying to have it, not by trying to have kusala cittas or trying to reflect on death in a special way.
Yeah.
Is the reason that you have a Kusala Cittas because you think of your own death?
No, I have a fear of death.
Fear of death. That's what I mean. Yeah. So is it possible to think of death without relating it to oneself personally?
No, it's a bit hard.
Mm-hmm.
If I think about others' death, I do not have urgency.
Birth and death in a more abstract way?
Yeah. Also, what I'd like to know is, it is said that dukkha associated with death is less than the dukkha associated with birth. And it's a bit hard to understand because for me, this is the most urgent thing.
Where did you find that comment, Tadao? That dukkha
No, I read it here and there, but this...
Is it from the text or is it someone's opinion?
No, it must be from a text.
Can we say in the deepest sense that any moment of life is dukkha because it arises and falls away, no matter it's the birth citta, the bhavanga citta, the seeing consciousness, the thinking, the death consciousness, whatever arises falls away instantly.
Yeah.
Is dukkha. And so death, the conventional death, actually it's just like now, it's just another moment, another citta in life that arises, falls away, not worth clinging to or being afraid of, because it's just a citta that is gone instantly, doesn't belong to anyone. Let's just see if Ajahn is here, and then we can mention what the discussion is about. Ajahn, are you here now?
สวัสดีค่ะทุกคนค่ะ
สวัสดีครับ สวัสดีครับ
So we just started because Tadao said he would like to discuss more about Maranasati today. So this is what we just started to talk about.
As long as there is no understanding clearly about the moment of death, one is afraid of death. But if we understand that it's just like sleep, moment of sleeping, Patisanti citta, bhavanga citta, and jutti citta is exactly the same. It cannot be known. It just fallen to death instead of falling to sleep. So it's not frightening at all. That's the same as when you're going to sleep, and then there is sleep, and then just it's like no one knows at moment of going to sleep that it is the moment of sleep. No one knows at all. It's banga, that which cannot be known. So instead of just going to the moment of sleep, it's the It's a moment of this unknown. The one who is dying cannot know at all. It's just like sleeping. We can think about this before this, and then that is thinking. But the moment after thinking is pavanga. So the moment of thinking can be this. That's that. Very, very natural. And then the next moment, new body. See? New one. Not the same at all. No remembrance, no memory of that past life at all. Just like this life. Begin with that, which is from nothing, from being the previous personality into new one. See, would you like new one? Because it's this life after death of last life. Exactly the same. No memory about previous life, past life at all. So it can be just as now or any moment. No one knows when will death comes at all. It can be this moment, just like moment of falling to sleep. And new life, the same. Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking, keeping on and on and on and on. Non-stop, as long as there are conditions for that to arise. It has to arise. That which experiences has condition for its arising. That's all. Just like now, this moment, no one at all. It's the way it is. Conditioned. Chitta conditioned Cetasika and Cetasika conditioned Chitta. Who arranged that? Who makes it to be that way? No one. It's the way it is. Only that pass on from moment to moment to moment to moment, no stop. No one there at all. Just a moment ago it's gone. No one there. No me, no Tadao, no Jonathan, no Sarah, not anyone at all. It's gone completely. Just understand it. To be afraid of death is not as much for the wise one to be afraid of not understanding it as it is. That's why there should be the best thing in life, understanding that actually there's no me, no one, no this person or that person or anything at all, at all. Because the breaking world does not appear as it's now breaking all the time. Otherwise, they must be taking for something, and then that is clean because of not directly experiencing that moment as it is. Nothing there at all, just appear and disappears. This is the truth. It's not frightening because it's so true that actually no one. But when there is the idea of me or I, there must be frightening of such moment to come to end whatever we have in this life as we see. But actually nothing. When it's nothing, not anything, how can it belong to anyone? And this is true as long as right understanding begins to understand it. It continue on, like implant the right understanding what is there in the seed to develop until it grows. At moment of directly understanding that which is now appearing. Only that in life. What more? Being gone, everything gone, just appear and disappear unknowingly. And the cessation of that appears as something of clinging to cling all day, all life. So understanding is the best thing to cure all the disease from ignorance, clinging to that which is no more, only now and then no more at all. And this can condition to learn more, to understand more, as it is as not so. Just for the truth of it to show up as no one there, not me, no one. So death is just like this moment, exactly the same. But there are conditions for the next all the time to arise to be different. Would you like to be a different one from this personality, this person? The that is clinging even to such idea. King is there everywhere, almost every moment. When we don't learn about the process, we think we can't understand it's there. Because usually after seeing, ignorance followed, but not right then after the seeing's gone. It takes more, 2 moments, and then it's there. Who knows? So fast. So life is just like this. Only that which is the object can appear, but that which is not the object does not appear. But they are there. Phassa is there now. Vedana, Sanya, Chetana, Ekakata, Chivitindriya, all now unknown. That's why there's clinging to whatever is there because of not understanding it. As just it is it appears by condition. Only no one can make phassa to appear now by condition. Whatever is there to be object of experience. It's just ordinary, so common, so daily, each moment, all are there, depending on right understanding to grow, to develop enough to understanding it as what has heard as so true, as it's there, and then after that it's gone. When we touch, it's there, but when there's no touching, where is it? Gone completely. So what is there is real, just for that very moment, and then gone. And this is just like sleep. But it ends up this life, this personality, and the conditions for the next unknown. Now, what would be? Tesla, what would be by conditions. So now the condition for right understanding is implanted in the citta to be moral by conditions. By many Sankhara-Dhamma Cetasikas, wholesome Cetasikas are there, ready now to understand what's the truth of that which is now appearing. So just live naturally as usual to understand what has been accumulated to appear from moment to moment. No you, no one at all. So there can be the understanding of the characteristic of that which experiences. Otherwise, it's only thinking about the word nama, it experiences, but that is thinking. But the understanding of the word, that which experience is now experiencing. And from the true words of the truth of it can condition a little more. So very gradually to understand it when time comes only. It's like cooking. It's not finished yet. It cannot be eaten. It cannot put on the plate because it's not finished. It's not ready yet. So now it's just like that, cooking. We can compare with anything for understanding more and more about the truth. It's not there anymore. But without understanding the nature of it as that which experiences, or that which now appears different from that which experiences, begin to develop little by little at that very moment only. And that can be what begin to be known as panya, right understanding of a reality. At level of understanding, we don't have to use the word direct awareness or direct understanding, but there is understanding. So what we have heard about sammasati or satipatthana, or what is there, is that moment. We don't have to name it at all, but it's there. The characteristic of that appears as it is. Later, there can be more understanding to understand this and that, on and on, until it can let go the idea of self, little by little, as so natural. When there is the idea of wanting to have more understanding, it cannot understand because it's the I, and that which is there is the lopa, which wants. See, so how can lopa, which cling to that object, can understand the truth of it? That's why it's so very subtle and very deep, very profound to understand the fourth noble truth, the path leading to experiencing reality as it is now. And the moment of understanding is the moment of the path leading to experience it. Clear and clear and clear. That now, here, not the other moment, no other object. The natural, but it depends on right understanding to understand what it is by conditions. No selection, no choice. Because now, no choice to see this, to hear that, to think that, this. You see a bit of it from today.
So, concerning death, yeah, the point is that there is nothing we
Yeah.
have to worry about.
Yes. When there is panya,
Uh,
are you afraid of seeing now? It's
yeah,
like,
yes. So, when there is worry about one's death, it shows that one has strong attachment to self and no understanding of realities.
certainly. Little by little, it's the word, but it's the truth. Because there is a reality, not only words without any reality. For example, worry. It's there. It's real. It's not you. See? Just learn to understand whatever is there as its nature, which experiences or that which cannot experience. This is the beginning of what we say nama and rupa. And it's not just the word, the nama now, that which experiences now, the rupa now, that which cannot experience, they are now. But understanding begin to see it as not as it appears, because it appears, for example, visible object, as not just only visible object, no understanding of that nature as that which can be object of seeing. But there is the idea instantly, firmly about it's a doll, it's a glass, it's flower, and so on. Instantly, so very rapidly, naturally, because of the pajya, which has been accumulated. We take that as something because of ignorance. But when there is understanding, ignorance will get less and less and less. But it has to be more and more right understanding before there can be the real, the perfect understanding of that as that only is sin. No one, nothing at all. But when it appears as something, it is true because after seeing the rapidity of the succession, condition nimitta, who can change that? No one. But it depends on understanding, to understand that it's not like that which is nimitta, but the truth, the absolute truth, is that it is seen only that. And after that, the citta which follows begin to understand it as it used to be remembered as something. And that is sanya cetasika. See, no one. Sanya remembers, sanya marks, and it performs the function of take it for something, vipalasa, at moment of akusala, not understanding it as it is.
As for nama and rupa, if one repeat nama and rupa, nama and rupa, nama and rupa, does it help him to
Okay, can
develop panya?
beginning to understand the nature of that which sees, see, that which sees. We can use the word, or we don't have to use, but the moment of understanding it, without that which sees, can that appear? The object cannot appear at all. It is covered up years and years ago before the enlightenment of the Buddha. See, so long that as soon as there is the word of truth, it begins to consider the truth and follow the truth by little. There are conditions to think about it. And later on can be more, a little more understanding. When the idea is less, it means that the attachment to the idea is little and little let go. So when the reality appears, it means that Panya develops enough to understand the nature of that which experiences. Otherwise, without understanding the nature of that which can experience, it's impossible for that nature to appear as no one, that which now sees or hears of things. It begins from the moment of death, of birth. It begins at the moment of birth, and on and on and on and on, non-stop. After death, non-stop. And then on and on and on. After death again, non-stop. See? By conditions. So the way to have it not arise again is to have no conditions for anything to arise. For wrong understanding, it arises on and on unknowingly. And when there cannot be any more wrong understanding, it depends on panya, little by little. There must be conditions to let go, to eradicate the reality which has been accumulated long time ago to end up no more at all after that. Absolutely. And that's from the enlightenment of the Buddha. After his enlightenment, he said, Dhammas are so very subtle, very deep, very hard to experience. So we don't forget that because it's so true. If life does not go naturally, what condition that? Lopa. Why does one have such idea and live like that? When it's right understanding, no one can make this moment not appear, not arise, and not fall away. So it's not just don't fear death. That cannot do anything. But right understanding of this is just the moment before going to sleep and then sleep. And so sleep is death instead of pawanka when I sleep. Patisanti citta, pawanka citta, and juti citta do not experience the object of this world. They nothing there. But citta performs its function, ending up its life. And after that, it conditioned the next moment, next life, suddenly, unknown, like the moment we were born, unknown. No frightening about previous moment, unknown, like sleep. As one does not, it's not frightened of sleep. It's the same as not frightened of death. And many people, and I think that everyone would like to sleep, see, not experience anything. So what about the moment of death? Exactly the same. But we don't know that it's exactly the same. So we are afraid to be like that. No more seeing, hearing. But there must be seeing, hearing, as long as there are conditions for anything to arise. It has to arise. It's the way it is. Samsara, turning around. Seeing, hearing, liking, disliking, again, over and over, on and on and on. Restless.
Yeah, Constantine, thank you. Thank you very much. Now it's a bit clearer and less worry about my death.
Mm-hmm. Just think about that which is now appearing. It's the best thing.
Yes.
It can be this next moment. It doesn't matter. The same as it can be thinking next moment or whatever is there by condition.
And Tadao also, whenever there's the idea of doing anything, however subtle, like putting aside time to reflect on death or trying to have good reminders about death or repeating about nama and rupa, it's still the clinging to self. So it can never bring any peace or calm, or because clinging is motivated even at those times. So that's why it has to be just the understanding of what appears now. If there are no conditions to reflect wisely on death now, it doesn't matter. If there's worry now, it's conditioned. It has to be like that. So all the problems, like you mentioned, come from the clinging to the idea of self, my thinking about death, my death, should I repeat about nama and rupa, and so on. It's not the understanding of just what appears at this moment, even if it's not the one that I would like it to be.
Yeah, you are right. It's strongly motivated by attachment to oneself.
And that's why, and the clinging to oneself, that's what brings the fear and the concern. What will happen to me? What will life be next? What will happen tomorrow? It's not the understanding of just whatever reality appears now, the worry or the seeing or the hearing or hardness, each one conditioned and falls away instantly. Death of each reality at each moment, gone. So that's why death is just like now. Actually, there's just death at every moment in life. It's just a conventional idea that at the end of life there is a special death, but actually each cheetah falls away, is gone, never to return. None of them belonging to oneself or anyone else.
Yeah, it's very clear. Thank you very much.
That's why it's only the understanding that can condition calm when it develops naturally, not trying to have calm or trying to think wisely, but through understanding, it works its way and it conditions kusala naturally.
Yeah, so having kusala naturally is a very good phrase. I like it.
And it can only be naturally and develop naturally with the development of understanding, which also develops naturally, not trying to have it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for bringing up the good topic to Tao.
I think it's not death that bothers me. It's the leading up to death. I've seen as a previous nurse, I've seen some very unpleasant dying, and I think that concerns me more than the actual death moment. So I don't need to talk much about it, but that's probably, and I'm wondering if that was for you, Tadao, is it the lead up to dying or is it the actual death?
Probably both.
Yes, and I think the advice given applies to both. It's not me. Whatever happens, happens. So the most important thing is the development of understanding at this moment.
Yes. Hi, Azita. I totally agree with you. The most important thing in our life is development of understanding this moment, not waiting for my death.
Yes, definitely. That's why we're all here listening, I think.
And whatever pain, whatever difficulty comes, it has to be that way because of karma and other conditions. So it's a reminder to develop understanding and all kinds of kusala now while there is the opportunity, because we don't know what will come in life by conditions.
Yeah, to be honest, I've been suffering from severe pain for the last 2 months due to my fall. And it's inevitable to not to think about death or the condition which lead to death. But what Ajahn Sujin said was very helpful. There is nothing to worry about. If there is worry about, it's due to my own clinging, attachment. if there is no such clinging or attachment, death is nothing special. It's just like now. That was very strong reminder. There is nothing to worry about. So it was quite helpful. Thank you.
That, if I may, anyone else have questions? Okay, it's back to the 6 sets of 6, which I find really, really amazing. And there's one section of it where it's the origination of identity. So the Buddha is talking to the bhikkhus, saying, bhikkhus, this is the way leading to the origination of identity. One regards the I as, this is mine, this I am, this is myself. And it's in Pali, it's lobha, mana, and ditthi. But there seems to be quite a crossover. So, I mean, and just to add to that, it's not just the I, it's all of those, the I, the objects, the citta that arises, the phassa, vedana, and the craving. And so, well, to be more specific, so if one regards the I, or for example, if one regards the object, the rupa, how does this I am, mana, arise at that? How is that explained? Maybe Achan could answer. Achan, are you there?
Oh, yes. Thank you. I think that if we can understand deeper about just one reality, it can condition understanding of other reality as well. For example, let's talk about thinking. Is that what you think about? You are thinking about, or what?
We can't hear you, Azita. I think she was talking about, for example, the rupa that is seen, like.
There's 3 ways of seeing it. As this is mine, or this I am, or this is myself. So it's lobha, mana, and ditthi. But if there's a visible object, how is mana? Where does mana come in at that object? I realized with lobha, I was thinking before, okay, this is my coat, this is my pen, but something, some object, how is it this I am? How is that explained, please?
Azita, when you look at your hand, it's not somebody else's hand.
That's correct.
Isn't that mana? Isn't that your hand?
Well, that's what my confusion is a little bit about. You know, this is my hand. That isn't that lobha? Why is it mana?
Oh, if your hands were beautiful, you'd be attached to your hands. But if they're not, if you're just thinking about it regularly as just your hand in your feet, there can be lobha, but also not lobha, but mana.
Really?
What, isn't it more flexible than another hand, or older than another one, or younger than another one, or more wrinkled, or more suntanned, or
more speckled?
Isn't it special in some way? Yeah.
That makes more sense than what you were saying, Sukin, because it's, that to me was either lobha or ditthi, but yeah, it's my hand is nicer than your hand.
It's a different one. Even when you just look at it, the implication is there. or even just looking at the visible object that is seen now. Is it the same as what another one is seeing? Is it different?
So I am
Any
is
moment.
sort of like comparing.
It's a
Would that be what-
comparing, or it's a comparing. Even when looking, maybe there's the idea that someone else can't see this.
Right.
Can come in
Okay.
very quickly.
And my hand, this is my hand. That can also be ditthi.
Yes.
Okay.
So clinging.
Okay,
mana,
there's a
ditthi,
fine line. Yeah, fine line between them. So
looking at the visible object out of the window, clinging, or okay, I have this nice view, maybe others don't, or ditthi, taking it for something, the building, the window, the view, something, not just visible object.
yes, well, you're right, because I do have a nice view, and I was thinking, I wonder what everyone else is
There,
viewing.
mana comes in so easily, right? Maybe
Okay.
other people just have to look at the
wall.
wall, or yeah, exactly. So mana can come in so quickly.
Okay. All right. Okay, that's great. Thank you. Thank
And the
you.
same with the seeing, same with the eye sense, same with any reality.
Yeah. Okay.
Or an
thank you.
idea like, why don't they put the picture, show the picture or the video? Mana can come in even at those moments.
Well, I'm looking across at a hill, and they've got a blue wall, and I thought I wouldn't have a blue wall. I'd have
Mana.
a green wall.
Mana, yes. Or why don't they trim that tree a little better? Mana.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And actually, it doesn't have to be comparison. It's just self-importance. You think,
I know better. Or
yeah.
it's there.
Waving the banner.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of that. Okay. Thank you.
And what about the moment when you are finding out?
That's a good comment, Achan. I'm proud now that I understand.
And before that, see, wrong understanding, taking it for you, and it's that the object that you like to have understood.
Yes, yes, Achan, very good.
Otherwise, the ignorance cannot be eradicated at all, no matter when it arises with beauty or with a beautiful or the eye, completely with mana.
It's one of the last to be eradicated. So I can understand intellectually that it's very deeply rooted within the citta. So yeah, it's there, and it's good to know about it. Yeah.
What about in the case of feeling inferior? What do you think about some examples of feeling inferior and giving the sense of waving the banner, like John said?
Is that for me? Is that for me, Tham, or for Achan?
For anyone.
Well, I just give an example because it has happened. I'm probably in the process of buying something, and it's a bit nerve-wracking, but occasionally little events come up, and I think, why didn't I think of that? I'm not so clever, I think to myself. I wished I'd thought of that. So I think that's I think it's an example of inferiority.
Well, I don't understand the point. I don't get what mana is now. It can be even right now. Yes. Or it's still not clear to me. mana can be there.
Right, but just thinking about the waving the banner, because I find it very, very revealing when talking about feeling superior.
Yes.
We can see that characteristic of waving the banner.
Yes.
But for feeling inferior,
it's more like wanting to hide behind the banner.
Yeah, right.
So it's still a kind of waving, but in a different way.
It's still about my importance, like why, Azita's example, why didn't I think of that earlier, or it's not clear to me now. It's still about me and my importance.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a comparison nonetheless. Why am I so inferior when you're thinking to something more superior? I find when we talk about the inferiority, it really has to do with an idea of what compared to what you would expect, or what is superior to what you're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And wouldn't you think that feeling inferior or superior is just a matter of conditions? In one moment you feel inferior, the next superior. It's still right?
Yes.
I ate too much, I ate just right. It's all still waving the banner.
Right, and it's all still very much I, and right, yeah.
And
this
Now-
kind of eye is not the eye of wrong view.
No.
then mana comes from the verb manati, which is to measure. So I think we're often measuring better or worse or good as. It doesn't mean to say you can be as equal as, or it's all many gradations of just measuring with the other in different ways.
It said that it's the meaning is measuring, right, Sundara?
Yeah, that's right, Tom. It means, it comes from the verb manati. It means to measure.
Okay.
So you're measuring yourself in comparison with the other, as I said, either better than or equal as or worse than. And of course, there are, thousands of different gradations or levels of that, on the positive, so-called positive side or the so-called negative side. Some people can feel very miserable about themselves in relationship to other people. And that, of course, is another type of, as Jonathan very cleverly alluded to, of hiding behind the banner. So we do it in all sorts of rather sneaky ways at times, rather insidious ways, and sometimes in rather gross ways, but it's all the same thing in a way.
But I think that measuring doesn't have to involve comparison with another. As Ajahn often reminds us, there doesn't have to be comparison to be mana. So just the feeling I'm so hopeless or I'm stupid or wasn't that can be mana without reference to any other being. If one was just completely on one's own and not comparing to anyone else, there can still be these measurement of one's own worth.
I mean, whether you've managed to do the job, get things done, did the calculation right, wrong, and all that. That's.
Yes, I think the word measuring is quite interesting, and gives another aspect of that as well. Thank you.
I'm wearing the wrong shirt, another color would have been better. It's the implication may be that a different one that is better, but even so, it's just no obvious comparison, but mana is there. And we can see why it's said that it's the opposite of metta when one's waving the banner or preoccupied with what someone else is wearing or doing, or how one could have bought the land better or whatever it is. There's no metta, no kindness, no consideration of the welfare of others at all, no gentleness, because it's preoccupied with oneself.
It happens much more often than we think.
Yeah.
Can come in very quickly.
Very
Yeah.
quickly, yes.
Yes, I agree with you, Tom. That word that Sundara, thanks Sundara, measuring, because, you know, you're measuring yourself. Oh, I did this, I didn't do this yesterday. So it is, I think measuring is a good word. Thank you, Sundara.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, that's just that's the Pali translation of it, maneti, to measure. But I think Jonathan seemed to be alluding to the fact that if I understood him correctly, if I understood you correctly, Jonathan, that may not always involve mana, and that's potentially possible too, I imagine. But and as Ajahn said, words can just lead us. You know, the translations of words can lead us to an understanding. They won't necessarily embody that, but they will give us some idea about the reality that's been spoken about.
And in reference to what you just said, what I was actually saying was there can be mana without comparison. So just measuring oneself, but not by reference to anyone else, just one's own view of one's performance, as it were.
Oh, I see now. Okay, so it's just like not in relationship to anybody else, correct?
Right, yes.
Like the person you were today as opposed to the person you were yesterday, or something like that.
Yes, or just, wasn't that stupid of me, or I'm so lazy, I should be, doing more, and this sort of thing. So that's a kind of measurement, but not comparison even with oneself on the previous day, just a kind of assessment or measurement, judgment of oneself.
Yeah, I think that's a more refined dynamic to the word measuring, because I'd often thought of it mostly in relationship to the other, or what the other has or hasn't got. But I think, as you said correctly, it's measuring in the broader sense of the word, and that, as you have identified, is can easily be to do with yourself in different degrees.
I think of the expression, I'm not measuring up. I'm not doing as I would expect, or as I want, or as I've set a standard for myself or something.
Yeah, I think that's good, Anne. That's exactly right. And we often think that is being skillful when we say that, I'm not measuring up, which is not an uncommon saying that some people run past themselves at times, but usually, as we can easily imagine, there's just a lot of akusala there.
Mm-hmm.
So can we say that any view or any opinion about myself or others is a measurement?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's always a kusala. And as Ajahn would say, Panya will be able to identify that better than we will. But I think I generally agree, Roti, that because there's mostly kusala in life, there's going to be a lot of akusala, whether we measure or not.
And a lot of ditthi too. So when there's ditthi, there's no mana. So a lot of ditthi. So we can't just make a blanket statement and say when there's thinking or measuring about oneself, it's mana, because it may be ditthi at those moments.
True.
Alternating.
Well, it doesn't seem very clear still, the fact that if any measurement, any view is a form of ditthi or not, any view about myself or other people.
Tanajan Cup, what's your feeling on this? What would you think, Tanajan Cup?
Yeah. What about the essence of I?
Sorry, Ajahn, I didn't catch that. Sorry, Ajahn.
Actually, can we say that it's the importance of I, which is mana? The thought about the importance of I.
Yes.
The banner, the importance of I, no matter in what way.
Even the Neva Sanyana Sanya Jatana Brahman.
Yes, yes.
Like if one's going to a party and one feels very shy and what will people think of me or something like that. Mana is there. It's still the importance of I at those moments.
That also helps you to see through.
That would differ from ditthi in where ditthi is more the existence of I.
Right.
It's clinging so much to be I. But even there's no ditthi, but the importance of I, that the I, no matter in what world.
Can you explain that, Ajahn? Please.
Okay. When you don't know that actually there are only namas and rupa, and that is wrong understanding because you take nama and rupa for things, people, right? That is wrong understanding. But even when there's the right understanding of all nama and rupa, Panya understand that there are many, many different realities, and mana is a reality too. If it's not there for Panya to see that it's only a reality, there cannot be the eradication of that or anything at all, as no one. Each one is nama or rupa only. That is the eradication of wrong understanding, which takes all namas for self. See, even mana is wrong understanding as I am it at that moment, which is mana. But even there's no I at moment of mana, but there's still mana, the important. That's why it's so different. And only Arahata can eradicate that. Because Panya has to be so high, so great, that it can understand the difference between what moment is kusala, with wrong understanding, without wrong understanding, with the attachment of clinging to sensuous object, or when there's not there, but still there is the importance of I.
Thank you.
Whereas it cannot be eradicated at all when it's not seen. But as there's no understanding of realities as no one, there is wrong understanding to even mana, wrong understanding. It's me, but even there's no the idea me as because it has been eradicated. But Panya, which knows the difference between the mana and the wrong understanding, is there to eradicate mana. When the person has attained enlightenment, the fourth one, the last one, no more, even mana, with attachment and ignorance of that. That's why even mana is conditioned by ignorance and clinging. Still there, very, very, very weak and very subtle. So only the Panya of Arahata can eradicate that. Because who knows, even while one is talking about anything in life, what mana is there or not, Is there mana at that moment? Who knows? Only panya of what degree? When it's as strong as I, is ditthi, not understanding that moment as nama and rupa, which is there and then gone. The understanding of mana, which is very subtle than the wrong understanding of ditthi. So I think that sometimes we try to get the meaning of the word, but what for? To understand clearly about the truth of reality, which is quite different from one another. But the point is to understand the characteristic which is there and consider the truth from the word which Buddha taught about it. To have more subtle understanding. So what has to be known, first of all, is no one and no thing in what is there now. Experience, like whisper object. No one. It's so very, very difficult to have such clear understanding of that which appears, so very short, so that it cannot be anything. But when it continue on succeeding from moment to moment, the nimitta appears. So there must be the understanding of that which now seen as not nimitta like before. It's only that which is now appearing. When they're seeing, that's all. Little by little, by itself, by conditions. Otherwise, it's still I. More difficult to get rid of it. So it there is a condition to think over it, to understand it a little bit. Just even one moment is so very, very precious because it can condition more clear and more understanding and clearer understanding of that which is now appearing. To appear as it is, to be known as it is directly.
And the importance of I, it's the opposite of being like the dust rag or the earth that will take the pus and blood or whatever is put on it. And so usually there's so much mana in a day.
Thank you, Ajahn, and everyone. It's very helpful. I think the self-importance is right there, the waving the banner in either way. I think it's a very...
And Sariputta's remind us about the opposite of is one sees how far there is to go. Like even now, can it be like a dust rag or any piece of land, no matter what comes, no matter what is said, no matter what is done?
It's very deep, the same words, and we listen and listen again, and every time it's different, right?
Like the example I gave, when one goes to a party and feels very shy or self-conscious, it's still all about the importance of I at those moments. But so many different realities, moments of wrong view, moments of mana, moments of clinging, moments of dosa. And if there's any trying to pinpoint or find it, then it's just like we were discussing with Tadao, then it's just an idea of I and doing something again. It's not understanding naturally. And it always has to be at this moment. Back to now. Back to Azita's, the sutta, Chachaka Sutta. So it can be with regard to any object that is experienced and any kind of experiencing, the seeing, the hearing, the thinking, and with regard to any of the sense bases. So it can be with regard to any of these realities. The lobha, the mana, and the ditthi.
I have more on that same sutta. So we go on a bit, and it comes to the latent tendencies. And I'll just read out so you'll know what I'm. When one is touched by a pleasant feeling, if one delights in it, welcomes it, remains holding on to it, then the underlying tendency to lust lies within one. So presumably, like my question was, if there's no underlying, if there's no latent tendencies, is there no pleasant feeling? And then it also goes on to the, you know, if there's unpleasant feeling, then there's sorrow, grief, and lamenting. So, and then it says if that painful well, if there's pleasant feeling, if there's unpleasant feeling, or if there's no feeling at all, it indicates the underlying tendency of lobha, then dosa, then moha. So
Like now, when there's pleasant feeling, pleasant bodily feeling, clinging follows instantly, or if it's painful feeling, like Tadao mentioned, then dosa instantly. But if the anusayas have been eradicated, there's still the pleasant bodily feeling, the painful bodily feeling. The arahats still experience painful bodily feeling, but no clinging, no aversion.
Yeah, that's bodily. But what about mental pleasant feeling? Is there mental pleasant feeling and mental unpleasant feeling?
Mental pleasant feeling, for example, moments of
is the dosa
or kusala, but no, when dosa is eradicated, when the anusaya of patiga anusaya is eradicated, no dosa at all. So no unpleasant mental feeling, because the domanassa only arises with dosa. Right. So there's still painful bodily feeling, but no.
Which is called dukkha, yes?
Which is called dukkha. And it is a nama. It is because it's Vedana, but no domanassa that arises because no dosa.
And likewise with sukha, pleasant bodily feeling, there's no
pleasant bodily feeling and pleasant mental feeling, somanassa with kusala or kiriya in the case of the arahat, but not with lobha, because no lobha.
Right.
So like even now, there can be pleasant feeling with lobha or mana or ditthi, or pleasant feeling with kusala.
Right. Right. Oh, I think it's probably one of the best suttas I've read. it's really, really deep. You know,
It's all about
goes
the
through
realities of life now.
Yes, yeah.
All about this moment.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that.
Rossi, I'm thinking of you when we were talking before, and you said it still wasn't so clear. Where are you now with that? Is that?
I was not thinking about it anymore. I just let it go. Thank you.
So ultimately it comes down to not the description of the different situations, but understanding the characteristic of the reality. And that is something, of course, that is an objective rather than our present stage of development, but thinking about the different descriptions of the different realities can be a condition for having an intellectual understanding of the different characteristics. I'm talking about mana versus ditthi, for example, which people often wonder or tend to think of as being very, very similar. Or to be, it's often thought that if there's mana, because it's about I, there must be ditthi. How come they can't arise together? And that shows that we have difficulty, even at an intellectual level, distinguishing the different nature of those two mental factors.
If no one has any question, Ajahn, I'd like to bring up the topic of the Iddhipada, the four Iddhipada, which are discussed in the text quite a bit with regard to both the development of vipassana leading to enlightenment and also with regard to the jhanas. So often the descriptions in the text refer to development of samatha. But first of all, talking about the factors leading to enlightenment and the translation, roads to power, it's always quite a misleading translation. How would you refer to the Iddhipada?
It is the Cetasikas which are important too, because what is the first Iddhipada?
Chanda.
Without chanda, can there be a moment of listening to understand the truth?
No, so we can see how important chanda is. If there's no interest in understanding more about life at this moment, then there cannot be any development of understanding. Yes.
When it's all about the interest in understanding the truth, it is chanda, the path to which is there. Otherwise, they cannot be listening and considering at all. Even while one is considering about the truth, that is, there must be chanda too, because usually chanda arises with almost every chitta. So, and that can be unwholesome or wholesome chanda, and even wholesome can be wholesome, which is the path, not just ordinary one like dana and sila. So it needs chanda as the Dhamma, the factors of the enlightenment too. And the second one, that at that moment, just only chanda, that cannot lead to more understanding. So it needs virya too, and the citta and panya.
Right. And we can see that these are all very important factors, Bodhipakya Dhammas. And how would you translate Iddhipada then as the factors, the factors leading to, how would you translate Iddhi?
Success, leading to success.
Leading to success, okay. Factors leading to success. And we can see that, yes, they have to be by Adipati Patya, they have to be these four Nama Dhammas. And when it's referring to jhana and these four predominant factors or namas, we read, for example, that if a bhikkhu, this is from the Visuddhimagga, if a bhikkhu obtains concentration, obtains unification of mind by making chanda predominant, this is called concentration due to chanda, and etc. So in this case, it's the same. It just still shows the importance of the chanda in the development of samatha, and it depends on accumulations, what is predominant at any moment.
I think that each reality has its own characteristic which go along with other citta, no matter it is the past or not the past. For example, when we talk about chanda in any kind of kusala, it has to be there too, but not iddhipada, which is to the success to be enlightened, the truth. See? Because now it's not the moment of having success at all, because it's only learning about each word to lead to more understanding, to be successful in attaining the truth. So each reality has its own characteristic, which it has different level, like ekakata cetasika. It arises with each citta. But when it's more and with other wholesome cetasika, it can condition higher calm with less and less attachment until it attains the highest one. But we don't talk about it as iddhipada of the path, because it's only lead to wrong patipata. In Pali, it is not samma patipata, but it's still miccha patipata, because it's not the way leading to the enlightenment.
Right. So this was my this is my question about it. So if we read about these factors under Iddhipada with regard to the development of jhana and concentration, it has to be with the development of vipassana, otherwise it cannot be Iddhipada. Is that correct?
And even when it talks about the samatha at level of highest jhana, it has to go along or to be object of patipatthana.
Right. Otherwise, it cannot be Iddhipada, because usually when we read what people say, it suggests that Iddhipada can be with regard to the development of jhanas, but I think it has to be only when they are, like you say, it's miccha patipada, if the factors are not the object of understanding, if it's just the attainment of mundane jhana. So to be Iddhipada, it has to be with the development of insight, no matter it's jhana, factor, or any other reality that is the object.
Yeah, that's right. Many things about it is there that we have to learn to separate.
Right. That's very helpful. Thank you. And Jeff, I just saw you turned on your video, and anything that you have any interest in that you've been listening to, or?
No, I just got here. I was busy and I saw the time and I remembered this was on, so I thought I'd join in.
And I'm glad that you received the books. We sent Jeff quite a lot of copies of the books for him to take to when he visits the prisoners and other people. But at the moment, I think you can't visit the prisoners. Is that right, Jeff?
Right, not yet. We still got pandemic going on here, so it might be. They're expecting things to get better because a lot of people have been getting their shot, and probably in about 6 months.
And
I
would
think
you
we'll be back to relative normal?
And would you like to say how you try to share the Dharma with the prisoners when you visit?
Well, it's kind of interesting because I get different groups, you know, in the different prisons, and even in the same prison, the group changes because people are released and new people are coming in. But some of them, it's more, some of them don't get real interested in the Dhamma. They just want meditation so they can settle their minds down a little bit, and while being stuck in a teeny little cell. And but others get very interested, and I try to use, I mean, I don't step right into the Abhidhamma terms like we do here. I use more of the, like a lot of the more conventional meditation places. I kind of start with that, but I kind of try to put it in there subtly, how, you know, the main point I'd like to point out first, rather than like just throwing out the idea of anatta, I let them know that, because, you know, they learn, first thing you learn when you're meditating, especially with guys that have such agitation in their life, is how agitated the mind is, how it's always constantly doing these things. You know, a comment I get a lot is we'll sit quietly for 20 minutes and guys will say, I can't meditate, my mind is too active. And I just says, well, you're doing great because you notice that, and that's what it's all about. And but it's mainly just to let them know. And then some guys get kind of, I don't know if scared is the right word, because there's so many thoughts and remembrances about things that, you know, they're ashamed of, or that were very harmful to them. Because most of the people who are in prison for some type of abuse have suffered the same type of abuse themselves. And, you know, people learn to behave the way they're treated. And but it's just stuff where they don't want their minds to be, and it comes in there. And what I found one of the most freeing things is when I let them know that these thoughts and those actions that were committed, these things, they're not you. And this is, I can't remember how it's put. This is from, I don't know where I read it in the canon. Basically, the thing I like to tell them is, it's not me. It is not mine. It is not who I am. And I repeat that a few times so it sinks in. And it's one of the most freeing things for them when they make that realization that whatever happened, whatever actions, whatever thoughts, that's not me. That's not who you are. Because a lot of them, especially they go through like victim awareness programs and stuff where they are, it's pressed upon them. They have the victims on camera and they're crying and all this stuff, and it's pressed upon them. This is what you did, and that hurts them. Although it's probably necessary for them to really know that. But then to understand, they get this idea that that is them. These past actions are them. And then when they get that idea that this is who I am, they also get the idea they cannot change. I'm stuck being this person. And as this person, I have to try to navigate life without hurting people again. And when they make that realization that they are not their actions, they are not their thoughts, you can just see it in them. It's just really freeing for them. And so then, and then I go deeper from there. And as long as they keep coming back and we get, more deeper into the Dhamma, I start talking about the mind moments. I like to tell them about citta, how there's just one moment following another. I compare it to light, because light seems like it's constant, always coming, but we know from science that it's actually little photons. Beep 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 beep. And I says your mind works the same way. You just get all these little moments, and one conditions the next, and actions, words, thoughts is what conditions these things. And so that's how I really get them into it. And that's why I like the way we study here a lot more than other places, because we really get into that, what the mind is, and it's not who we are. But I try, but you still got to deal in the conventional world with these guys.
Thanks, Jeff. Jeff has been a friend on DSG for quite a long time. Do you have any comments you would like to add, or anything you would like to ask him?
What is the best that he would like to understand or develop? The best thing?
That's hard to ask. Questions come up, but I don't always remember to ask them. But I've been studying the Dhamma itself for about 15 years. I've been with DSG since about 6 or 7 years, I think. And I do of the Tripitaka. Actually, I do like the Abhidhamma Pitaka the best. I think it gets into the real meaning of it. The whole, I think for me, I think one of the most interesting parts that is introduced early when someone studies Dhamma, that's kind of complicated, hard to understand, would be the dependent origination.
Do you often read Tipitaka?
Not always directly. I have read the first couple books of the Abhidhamma. I was going through the Datukata. I've actually read through the Datukata, and I really didn't get much out of it. So I went through it a second time, and that one's kind of difficult. I think it's more like, as Sarah mentioned to me once, it's more of a reference rather than just read through it. But I found the first two books, the second book, which is it the Attasalina?
Vibhanga, the Dhamma,
Yeah.
Dhammasangani and the Vibhanga.
Yeah, I think, which one's the second one?
Vibhanga.
The Vibhanga. I found that one to be quite helpful, but it's been quite a while.
You read just once or read it again and again and again?
Just once. I've only read it once. And that's definitely something to read again and again.
And do you think that the first time you read is different from the later time?
Yeah. Yeah. Every time I read something from the straight from the Pitaka, the second time is always much better. Always.
That's about one word or one passage.
Yeah.
About the truth of it.
Yeah, well, and I think that's one of the things in reading the Pitaka. I read it like any other book. I sit down and I read a large section at a time, and it's something that a person could read, you know, a page or two, and then contemplate that for a couple of days before reading some more.
And the understanding of such reality, one reality, is better and better, a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me something? About the word, the Tipitaka, no matter in what page, what section? And would you like to talk about that? To let me know?
We could talk about anything.
Anything in your mind now about reality?
Nothing specific. Nothing specific. My mind is just really got a lot going on right now.
Like you mentioned, Jeff, you mentioned in passing about dependent origination, and you
Yes.
also mentioned about elements, dhatu, because of having read Dhatu Kata.
Mm-hmm.
And earlier you also mentioned about like when you go to the prisons, and you mentioned that people like meditation, so meditation or bhavana. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe just choose one of those. So Jan would like to discuss it further with you.
Boy, any of those are actually good topics. I do like the topic on dependent origination, although that's pretty lengthy and convoluted. I think you could talk about just one segment of it even for a while.
And what does it mean?
Dependent origination?
Yes.
I think what it means, you know, applying the knowledge I've gotten from studying Abhidhamma and what we study here, it basically shows how you got these mind processes, and it just kind of balloons into our conventional reality that we get this idea of we, and stay stuck there for lifetime after lifetime, eons.
Does it mean that nothing can arise without conditions at all?
Yes, it does. It does say that.
No one can make it arise.
Right.
And how can the second Paticca arise from the first one?
The which one?
The first is ignorance.
Ignorance, yes.
What conditioned by that? The first one. Ignorance, conditioned what?
What is next after ignorance? Ignorance.
It's now. See, it conditions different ideas, right?
Yes.
And different action, speech, and deeds, kusla and akusla.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So it's just daily life, not only the word. Because now, who knows that it is ignorance which does not understand being as it is, thinking as it is, the truth of it, that from nothing, and then it's there by conditions, and then gone completely. the meaning of unnothingness, the meaning of Dhamma, the meaning of no one, uncontrollable. And that which has arisen and fallen away cannot arise again at all in samsara, only once, but it's not known. That it's from ignorance, and ignorance is there. The ignorance is all around, from birth to death, when there's no understanding of the truth of each moment. There's no one there at all. From nothing, no seeing before seeing arise, no hearing before hearing arise. And nobody can condition it to arise, can make it arise, but there must be conditions for its arising for sure, because no one can do it, but it's there by conditions. And the third one of Paticcasamuppada, it has to fit with each other moment. What is the truth? What is the reality of sankhara? Because when we talk about Dhamma, all Dhamma is conditioned. So no matter whatever arises, it is sankhara Dhamma, conditioned by ignorance. When there's no ignorance anymore, how can there be sankhara to condition the other reality? That's why when there is ignorance, there is the sankhara. So sankhara of the Paticcasamuppada is not only sankhara Dhamma as the other conditions, but it is that which is Dhamma, the will, intention to do such and such. So the result is there because there is the will to do. And it is the third Paticcasamuppada, which is now this moment. So study Paticcasamuppada is study whatever is there in life, but we don't use any term. So when there is understanding enough, when we read the Paticcasamuppada, there can be the understanding, the point that Buddha pointed out, that this is the way the world is from moment to moment. And it's now too. There is avijja now, and there is sankhara now, and it can condition vipaka, patisanticitta, and vipaka, which can condition the Dhamma and the Rupa. Not only one, more and more, time to time, this life. So I think it's not easy to talk about Dhamma to those who are not interested in understanding the truth yet, like the prisoner. But we can be friendly and help them, be kind, and then talk about that which can be understood for them, little by little. Because in my life, so many people do not have interest in studying, learning the truth. They just want to get what they want, try to have something to help them to succeed. See, but that is not only gone, not permanent at all in life, just for a moment and then gone. That they wish so much to have that one moment of that. So it's not for all, or only those who have accumulation to understand, to see the value of learning about it, not just the word, but the truth, which is now. So the words of the Buddha who had enlightened the truth are about the truth in life now, every moment, be known as he had enlightened. No one there at all. I don't know whether you are interested in this point or other, any word, any subject.
Yeah, I find it all interesting. No, this point is good. Because even in, for my, sometimes I don't know if I'm learning for myself or if I'm learning to convey it to the people in prison. because we kind of learn at different levels. But no, this point is very good for myself and them, because it's another point I bring up to them is just that, they want to sit down and meditate. They come to meditation because they want to learn to sit down, meditate, calm themselves. And then they're just going to go out and live their life, which is what most people who meditate do. And one of the things I try to impress upon them is it's not about sitting down and meditating. It's about learning to understand the mind and how these mind states get them into trouble, and how they can, with awareness and understanding what is good and what is not good. And some of them don't even know the difference. Their life's going to get much better, but it's not just sitting down and meditating. It's all the time, and especially when things are unpleasant.
But I think that they cannot have time to think about the word at all, but it can be natural or easy talk, like, what are you doing while they are meditating? We can ask, what are you doing? Whether that person can answer what he's doing. And we can talk about why, what for, is it worthwhile, or what about doing other things, even sila and dana and learning or reading, whatever, which can bring about understanding. Because I think that anyone who practices cannot answer what he is doing or she is doing. And we can talk about what they are doing more, little by little, to be whether it's good, worthwhile, or better to do other things, useful, rather than sitting and what doing. To let them see what is more important, more worthwhile. Than just sit and what they are doing while sitting. What are you doing?
Right.
I understand your situation though, Jeff. I mean, what you're saying is that the people that you're dealing with are not interested in the Dhamma as such. They do, what they have is an idea that if they can meditate, their life will be in prison, will be better.
Mm-hmm.
And you are trying to guide them to see that that meditation is maybe just a crutch, or is an idea they have, but in reality, there is something more worthwhile than meditation, and that is an understanding of the present moment reality. And it's not only, of course, mind states that are the object of understanding and need to be understood. It's also the objects of the sense door experiences, because all of these are taken for self. So, but generally we just refer to it as the present moment reality, which may be nama or rupa. But you're trying to guide them towards an interest in developing that kind of understanding rather than meditating as such. Is that the position?
Right. That's it. And if they're doing something they want to call meditation, and that helps them find that, great. And the whole idea is to get them to see. I tell them, like, speaking of meditation, they have the idea you got to go be at a quiet place and stuff. Some people come and say, oh, it's hard to meditate in prison because it's always so noisy. And it's like, if you want to be good, I just tell them the best place is in the middle of a riot. If you can be calm in the middle of a riot, now you got it. And so that's the best place. But I use a little psychology too, throw a little psychology in with these guys, because, you know, whatever it takes to get them to develop some kind of understanding, some type of knowledge. And you know, so I talk about like anger, and this is from my own experience. You know, I let them know when anger arises, be aware of it, you know, and this goes to the attention on the body, you know, being aware of the senses, because what something I noticed, like I say, I started learning about the Dhamma back in 2006. And of course, like everyone else, I started with, well, most people anyway, I started with meditation. And one of the first things I notice is when I get angry, my muscles tense up, even before the flames come. And so I was teaching them, you know, with that awareness, and, you know, anger's coming, but the anger's not you, it's just anger. And if you know the anger is there, don't try to push it away. Just, there's anger, and it's present. And then there's no reason to react to it. A lot of them have post-traumatic stress. And I think I did too, because with PTSD, when that anger comes in, and this has been shown by with neuroscience studies, when that trigger comes in and that anger is there, the cognitive mind shuts down and the emotional mind takes over. But with awareness that the anger is there, that the trigger point is there, that doesn't happen. The cognitive mind continues to function, and you can not react. So that's what's going on in the conventional world. But it takes that awareness of what's going on right now, and it's not meditation. Now, if they have to sit quietly and stuff to initially figure this out, that's fine.
And of course, the true value of awareness and understanding is not that it cuts what you call the emotional.
Right, the cognitive mind, yeah.
It's the understanding for the sake of understanding, because that is the only way to eventually eradicate the unwholesome tendencies rather than to suppress them, because any means of dealing with present anger is going to be a kind of suppression, right, one way or another, because the accumulated tendency is still there.
Mm-hmm.
And the people you're dealing with, they're interested in dealing with their anger or their situation. They don't come to you because of an interest in having a better understanding of the present moment reality, but your job, I suppose, you can help them to see that there is a greater good, a greater kusala than just not having anger at the present moment.
Yes, and a lot of those, like some of these guys who've been coming for like a couple of years, they've happened to notice that just through this awareness and the understanding, like you said, the awareness alone, just being aware of it and understanding it. And the way I put it to them is, hey, here's anger, you know, or here's joy, you know, whatever it happens to be. But with usually we focus on the akusala, you know, the negative. You know, here's anger, here's hatred, here's regret, and just being aware of it. The understanding slowly develops, and the way we talk about it is it slowly dissolves. It just slowly goes away. And the guys who've been coming for a couple of years confirm this. And they're actually the best teachers for the rest of the guy, because I've never been in prison. I don't know. I have an idea what they're going through, but I don't know. But when they have other guys who've been in prison for a long time, and these other guys have seen these guys suffering, and they come to the classes, they And the guy's telling me, yeah, it just slowly dissolves away. It's like an ice cube sitting out on the kitchen, only it takes a lot longer to dissolve these things that it takes for an ice cube to melt.
And like you mentioned about having read the Dhatu Kata and the other texts, so it's actually about this moment. So no matter we read about the different dhatus or paticca samuppada or about dosa or bhavana, it's actually about life right now, because there is only life now. So
Right.
they can be reminded that life is just at this moment. And actually in life, there are just different elements of which experience and different elements which don't experience anything. So different moments of experience, no matter happy or sad or this or that, they're just different elements that arise and fall away. Different moments of seeing, different moments of hearing, different moments of thinking, just elements arising and falling away. And that's all life is. No one there, nothing there.
Right.
And when we read about paticca samuppada, it's the same. It's just about the different elements in life, which because of ignorance are not understood. And because they're not understood as elements, the ignorance leads to all kinds of deeds which bring their results in future. So what happens now, the painful bodily feeling or whatever it is now, is just a result. It has to be that way because it had its cause in the past. So no point crying over spilt milk because the deed is done already. But now there is the opportunity to develop understanding and kusala, which will bring its result in future, which will accumulate and bring what one would like. But actually now we have whatever we ever wish for, the seeing now, the hearing now, and whether it's in prison or looking out at the nice view Azita has, it's still just seeing, and it is still just visible object that's seen. And these are just different elements arising and falling away. So I think whatever the Buddha taught about is just about different kinds of elements.
Yeah.
And that's life. But when one's with people, like Ajahn said, most people have no interest, no chanda to understand, but one can just be the good friend to help them with what they would like and to give the time and the patience. And then it depends if there are opportunities, if they would like to hear more about the truth of life at this moment, and that are just these different realities, no one there at all. And perhaps you can ask whether there can be meditation right now at this moment, and what is the meditation right now that is beneficial? Is it just closing one's eyes and focusing, or what about just understanding a little bit more about the truth of life now? So we can call that meditation or bhavana or anything, but just a little bit of understanding leads to all that one would wish to have in life.
Yeah,
Anyway, thanks for sharing, Jeff.
Just one comment on that. Look, Jeff, thank you for that. You're doing good work. Because they're not easy people to deal with. But you know, when you tell someone it's not you, it's not yours, it's not, you know, it's not yourself.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what then people take for me, because they don't know about anatta, and I you know, bringing that into that sort of teaching into the prison, that's not where you're at, really. I mean, not what you're teaching them. But because the example is, I had a friend in Thailand, and she had a lot of anger, and she used to come along to the discussions with Achan, And her comment was, well, I'm angry, yes, but it's not me anyway, so flippity flip sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? That if they don't realize what no self means, is probably what I'm getting at, then because of our accumulations, we put something else in there. Okay, it's not myself, but it's something. But in actual fact, it is nothing really. It's just those arising moments, and they're passing away. And yeah, just a comment.
Yeah, I think, well, it's an interesting comment because I actually think that some of the guys, and of course, usually I focus more on the guys who do get it and who understand it. But I think some of the guys in prison actually understand that better than the people you're going to meet, like in a meditation hall, for example. And I find that in the meditation hall, I see a lot more of what you're talking about. But in the prison, these guys, some of the guys, usually the ones who come to what we call meditation class, they're the ones who they know their life has been screwed up, and they want something different. They want to change. They're confused. They don't know what to do, and they come in and they're hungry for some type of knowledge. And I get other people, other volunteers that go with me. They want to stick to what I call the conventional meditation, and they sometimes don't like what I do. but a lot of these guys are primed. They're primed for the understanding. They're and it's kind of weird because desire is, kind of like the root of samsara, but actually I think it's more craving, because they have a desire for something different and they don't know what it is. And when I talk about the anatta, when I say that it's not me, it's not my own, it's not who I am, that is the way I introduce anatta. Because if I just say, well, it's no self, it's not really you, then people are like, wait, what a minute, yeah, I'm here. But a lot of them get it. And the ones who don't just kind of coast along. They don't reject it, but I got to introduce it at the right time. I got to be careful. When I get new people, I always try to identify the new people and ask them what their experiences and stuff, because you can't just start telling people about some of the deeper meanings of the Dhamma without them thinking, oh, this is nonsense, I'm not coming back. So that's where you got to kind of play it. And so then sometimes I get these groups. I've got guys who've been here for 2 years and they really understand it, and then I get beginners. Well, I can't be talking the in-depth stuff with the experienced guys when I got the beginners there, or they're just it's all gonna be over their head. They're not gonna understand it and they're not gonna come back. But the guys who've been there a while seem to be real good about, just spending a few sessions, introducing the newer people and getting them in. But the one thing I think that I noticed there that you might have been missing there, Azita, is most of these guys, they hunger for knowledge. They hunger for understanding, because they've well, the way I like to put it, they've been living in hell and they're tired of living in hell. They want something different.
Yes, and I appreciate your comment. To me, I that they're more real than somebody who's been sitting in the meditation center getting calm, because to me they're not real, whereas the guys you're dealing with are very real.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure, they must miss the visits. And Ajahn, I think time's almost up. Are there any comments you would like to add before we finish?
Yes, I think that we cannot know his accumulation, but the best thing to help them is just learning to know how much interest in life for that person. So I think that to be good friend is the best thing in life. So as we don't know is accumulation. We can talk about his life, his family, and then can show that everything is not permanent, depending on conditions. For example, little by little, not to understand the truth without the term like anatta, any word, but it shows about the understanding of the way life must be or has to be, that it changes all the time, not permanent and not at anyone's control at all. And be good friend, talk about his family, his life, how to remedy or how to make it better for such and such thinking, helping, and so on, until he can be more interested in understanding better about the cause and the effect of his life. And while he's in the prison, the best thing to help him is according to his interests and useful for him, like help them to understand the way to use this or to do that, like making something for sale or for use or for help the other, little by little, until he is ready to be good. And better than that is to understand more than just being good. Depending on times, that's why we have to be so patient to be good friend for everyone. Otherwise, it's useless when we talk about the truth, but no, that person is not interested to know. So according to his interest, we follow and show up the truth little by little, and the benefit of to be wholesome, and help him thinking about his family, how to go on in his life with his children or parents and so on, until he can see that the best thing is to be friendly.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Ajahn, and everyone. Sawdika. I think it's actually very helpful.
And thank you to everyone. It's been great discussion. Thank you.
Bye-bye.